like successful people in a sport and hearing what they say kind of like bring it into what we're doing and what he was saying Steve had said about LeBron. You always make every team you go to better, but it's the fact that you empower people to like know that they can be great.
What Nikola Jokic can do on a basketball court is absolutely extraordinary. He had 61 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, so a 60-point triple double. It's only been done two other times in NBA history. You know who those other players are?
Oh, no, I don't. Was James Harden one of them?
Yes, sir. Do you know
Okay.
the other player?
Is it Luca?
It is Luka Doncic.
Wow, look at
So
it's because he hit that three and to
the buzzer
win.
to win, bro. Yes, bro. And it was that that to
That's what
me that
solidified it.
so that was the last day of the year. I know you remember this. To me, that's the best way to win the MVP I've ever seen in my life,
Hmm.
without a doubt. Last day of the year. I think it mattered too because they were a 7 seed or something like that.
Yeah.
It was for the 6 seed,
Hmm.
bro. And they were going to the playoffs anyway, but super dope to see him do that. And on the last day of the year, super cool. Like I remember hearing, I didn't watch that game, but I saw that highlight, and I was like, man, if you were watching that, he must have been like, he did it again, man. It's
Yeah.
Russ for sure. Super.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boys over here at Three Man Weave. I'm your co-host CJ here with my lovely co-host ZD. How are you doing today, sir?
Yes, sir, man. And we back, and we better. It's a Wednesday. It's April 2nd. April Fool's Day was yesterday, but hey, there was a lot of guys playing like it. They were taking it serious.
Yeah,
So
they weren't
we're gonna
joking
get into
around
that,
yesterday.
man. Yeah, bro. We're gonna chop it up about the MVP races and some of the past ones that have caught our eye, and then obviously talk about this one. I mean, it's been probably the craziest one me and you have seen in a long time.
Hmm.
And then, bro, yeah, some of the performances last night, like I had brought up, just absolutely unreal. So as the season winds down, man, I'm doing pretty good, living my best life. I'm above ground, bro. How are you doing?
Good, man. Just just got off of work, hopped on the Discord, and now I'm ready to chop it up about these hoops. Didn't really watch as much as I would like to yesterday. We had a little meetup with PCT, and Cam was there, so we were kind of just chopping it up, kind of planning out some things for the future. But I was able to watch a couple games. Like I told you earlier, have made a little bet, so I was watching the Hawks
Uh-huh.
game, and then I was watching the Bulls game as well. But didn't really lock in towards the end of the night. And then I was able to watch the ending of your Laker game against the Rockets the other night. I saw Braun get
Oh,
that big block.
block.
So
Yeah,
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 so
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
able to watch that.
Hey,
But yeah, no, I'm doing good, bro. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, for sure. That's what's up, man. I mean, I guess I'll get right into it. Gabe Vincent, Dorian Finney-Smith, here you guys are, right? I mean, we were talking about it before we hit the record button, but once again, the Rockets offense looks stuck in mud, and that's unfortunate. We were talking about Ime Udoka on the last podcast. I think he's done a wonderful job being able to be a vocal leader and really the piece that's tying that team together this season. Obviously, with them approaching 50 wins or hitting it, it's pretty crazy. But we were just talking about it. I don't know if that style of basketball is going to translate to playoff success. Obviously, in this game, they were only able to register 98 points, which kind of goes to show you, their ability. They missed a ton of threes. They weren't able to hit twos. At the end of the game, they really got stuck in mud for sure. I know you saw that big block that
Hmm.
LeBron James had on Alperen Şengün.
Hmm.
It was pretty crazy to
It
see a
was a
40-year-old get up like that.
it was a great block. That's all I gotta say.
No, for sure. But hey, I was also going to bring up, man, our offense was stuck in mud as well. I
Hmm.
think at times we were getting bailed out by Gabe Vincent and Dorian Finney-Smith. They each had 20 points, and I don't think without those guys scoring 40 points for our team, we would have obviously won this game, right? And we can't really count on 20 points from Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent going forward. Luka had 20 points and 9 assists, so he was playing all right, I would say. I think Dylan Brooks' defense was lovely in this game. You might have seen that clip. It was kind of sus. He was backing down, LeBron or Luka was backing him down. He was kind of like humping him, whatever. Like Dylan
Yeah, I
Brooks
did.
does, yeah,
Dude,
bro. He does weird things.
he's one of those players, bro. Like he's a pest
He's an
on the
ultimate pest. Yep.
yeah.
Yes, and I like it. I
I
kind
like
of
it.
like that. No
Yeah,
weird shit. I like the energy that he brings to the table, and it's a
100%.
piece that Ime is clear. Honestly, I was gonna ask, you think he's better on the Rockets than he is on the Grizzlies?
Yeah, yeah, hundred
Yeah,
percent. Yeah, I think he's
yeah,
dude. There's games I see that he like is knocking down all his threes, guarding
yeah.
guarding Shea or
Oh
guarding
yeah,
the best player on the other side. It's like he's that type of player, like the Draymonds, the Patrick Beverleys, like type of players that like you as a fan, if you're going against him, you hate, but if he's on your team, you love that, you know. So
yeah, bro, for sure,
yeah,
for
he's doing
sure. I
great. It
think
was a great pickup from
yeah,
them. Honestly, I remember when we were talking about it. You know, signed that big extension with them from the Grizzlies to the Rockets. We're like, damn, like, is he worth that much? And honestly,
yeah.
for the direction that they're going in, it's looking like he was a great pickup because that's the type of player that they need. You know, obviously he's not going to be their, best player on their team, but he's going to be there for a while and he's going to contribute defense and knock down shots when he needs to. So that's all you really can
Yep.
ask for, you know?
Yeah, no, literally, I was thinking about it as well. Like I brought this up before on other podcasts, but if you're able to win that 3-point battle, you're gonna have a better chance of winning that game, and ultimately, we were able to do that. I think Jabari Smith Jr. another interesting piece down the stretch. They did not put Jalen Green in, who was their leading scorer. I forgot how many he had, but it was in the 20 point, 23 points or something like that. Ime had him on the bench for the end of the game for defensive reasons. I had brought this up to CJ before we hit record again. I don't know if Jalen Green is the answer in a playoff situation to go out and get you 30. You're looking at the Thunder who have Shea. We have Luca. The Nuggets got Jokic. The Timberwolves have Ant. The Suns have Kevin Durant and Booker. Like these guys can really score in a playoff atmosphere. Whereas the Rockets, there's still some question marks. Şengün, Jalen Green. Thompson, the Thompson twin. Eason. All these guys, all these pieces put together. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare in the playoffs. But I was extremely satisfied with the way that we were able to play down the stretch. I mean, unfortunately, the Rockets have one of the best defensive net ratings in the NBA. Clearly, they showcased that we were only able to score 104 points, but we were able to grind it out at the end of the game, hit clutch free throws, and that's really what helped us get to 40, 46 and 29 on the season. And honestly, bro, like, yeah, I think we can hit 50 wins. I don't know if we're pushing for that, but I'm sure JJ is hovering that over guys' heads, and that's a pretty big marker to hit on the season. I would argue, I would if you asked me, 4 months ago, hey, are the Lakers going to win 50 games? I would have said no. I would have gone in the 40 range, but hey, bro, we've honestly outplayed and really cool. Mind the Game, obviously another podcast just
Banger,
recently started up.
banger.
Banger. They got two Lakers on there, former Laker Steve Nash, and obviously LeBron James is a present Laker. But yeah, man, just hearing them chop it up about how Luka Doncic getting traded mid-season. A lot of people have question marks and they're very skeptical about how trading an All-Star player mid-season, how that's going to turn out, right? Clearly, that's worked for the Lakers. I don't think Luka Doncic, and you didn't question this, but for the audience, I don't know for the people that were questioning his ability, it's been silenced. He's hit the most three-pointers ever in Lakers franchise history in a month. It's pretty cool. It's April, but in March, he was obviously killing it. He looks like he has his legs under him. I think post All-Star break, he's averaging, 39 and 8. So he's being the Luka that we all know, the first team All-NBA player that obviously we've come to know and love, right? And
Hmm.
now he's on my team, so I'm very excited about that. But yeah, man, just if you guys catch that episode, definitely get a chance to watch. It's about an hour of your time, but they take a deep dive into the game and obviously talking about the situations that are going on the court for LeBron James, and it's lovely to be able to hear him speak about the game and pick his brain. But yeah, I'm excited, bro. I think our role players have stepped up tremendously over the last few games. I even heard Steve Nash bring up Jackson Hayes, who we've talked about at length on this podcast, but he continues to do damage. And it's because of Luka Doncic, but once again, you were never doubting him. Obviously, Luka has the ability to make a center who's not that good good. And that's all Jackson Hayes has to be. 7 points, 8 rebounds, a block of two a game. That's all we need from our center. We don't need 20 point. Like, that's not why he's there.
Right.
And that's what's so cool to see from Luka Doncic that I think was missing with Anthony Davis. No slight to him, but he's just not the creator that Luka is. So
Hmm.
obviously he's bringing up the value of our team, and bro, I mean, we're sitting pretty right now. Obviously, we're going to the playoffs. We've talked about it at length on this podcast, but we're both of our teams are just trying to get there. At this point, the Thunder have done absolutely everything humanly possible. That's right. You know, it's leaving you with not much to even talk about. But I'm glad we were able to stake out this win.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of going back to the what is it? Mind of the game.
Yep, mind the game.
Mind the
Yes,
game,
sir.
yeah. So the one thing, I watched it, of course, after you sent it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm locked in, bro. Because I don't know, man. I don't even mean to like glaze LeBron, bro. I just like hearing him talk, bro. Like, because we don't see it a lot. That's why I really appreciated it whenever him and JJ got on, and I like the way that Steve Nash was kind of filled in those shoes. He's like, oh, I appreciate you giving the opportunity. I'm like a rookie here. JJ was a podcaster, and obviously he became the coach. And Braun was like, oh yeah, if Steve ends up getting a head coaching job, like I swear I didn't say
He
anything.
might.
Yeah, he might, bro.
He might.
Honestly, but one thing that I kind of took away from that really stuck with me, and I think it's just kind of what we've been doing. Trying to be leaders, right? That kind of always, I like bringing but like successful people in a sport and hearing what they say kind of like bring it into what we're doing. And what he was saying, Steve had said about LeBron, you always make every team you go to better, but it's the fact that you empower people to like know that they can be great. And I feel like that really
Man,
stuck with me, bro, because like obviously, for everyone that doesn't know what we do, like we own businesses and we have a lot of people on our team. And of course, like, us being the leaders of it and trying to push people forward, like, we can make people better, but they have to believe, or we have to make sure that they believe in themselves, and that's really what stuck with me, bro. Like after listening to that,
yeah,
when he said that, I was like, man, like that's what makes
that's all it
LeBron
is.
great, like, and that's like the type of mentality I try to bring with anything I do. I surround people with I surround myself with people that I know are great at their craft, but I also have to like let them know that they're great. Like, hey, you can do
Mm-mm.
this. You can be
Yeah,
the
for
best
sure.
editor. You could be the best photographer. You could be this, that.
Hell yeah.
And I feel like that's something that
That's exciting.
it's a thing that separates the good players from the greats. And that's
Great.
that's
Yeah.
that's I just wanted to bring that up. Shout out to LeBron and Steve. I'm gonna
And
be tapped into that pod. However much they post, but yeah, no, like you were saying, we went against the Bulls the other night. It was Josh Giddey's return. He's been going crazy. It was kind of just belt to ass that game, bro. I really don't have much to say. It was a blowout. I think at one point we were
yeah.
beating them by 40. I think we scored 40 plus in 2 quarters. It's kind of just, you know, pretty much rolling into the postseason. We've been playing all year. It's just great to see that everything's still clicking, and Bulls have been playing great. They beat y'all at the buzzer. They've been getting some solid wins. Josh Giddey has been balling out, and I think we held him to a pretty subpar game from his previous performances, but
Yeah, for
it's just,
sure.
and
His last
I think Isaiah Joe,
his
I think I told you, we get these performances from Isaiah Joe where like last game he just dropped 30. I think he had like 8 threes or something. He's so everyone's clicking, bro. It's looking good. Like I said, I think I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I think this could be our year, bro. And I don't like to
yeah.
get too far. Like I said, I like to be like
To do that.
in the
Yeah.
moment, appreciate it for what it is. And whenever it happens, of course, that's when I'll start getting a little gassed up. But as of right now, I don't have really much to say.
No.
I think our next game is against. Hold on, let me check. Sorry, I haven't checked.
I was even going to bring it up to the audience at this point. You guys should even know like what the Thunder are doing because what they're doing is historical, and they continue. I think they play the Pistons
Yes, we
at
play the Pistons.
Paycom.
So that should be a great game. But I think the suspensions. Isaiah Stewart's out for 2 games. I think all the other
Right.
players that were a part of it are only out one. So
DiVincenzo.
yeah, all of them are
He
only
already
out.
sat by the way because they
Yeah,
played last night.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but yeah, no, like you said, bro, it's just kind of they're kind of like what we're saying about the Cavs and even the Rockets. Like we kind of know how these teams are going to perform. It's just how they're going to be in the
Um,
playoffs. And I feel like
yeah.
that's really all. Like for us, especially, we've been locked in all season. That's really all that we're waiting for. But Yeah, I don't really have much to say about,
No, no,
honestly.
for sure. Yeah, Shea, 27 points. They are 63-12. Yeah, so think about that, guys. I think they've lost once to the Eastern Conference. So
The whole
yeah,
season.
CJ. Yeah, I just at this point, I think we're doing our audience a disservice to ramble on about the Thunder, and like
Right.
that's kind of what they've been playing at a Hall of Fame level all year, and I think even yesterday, I love the Bulls. The Bulls have been playing good. I would even say right now they're a quality team. If you run into the Bulls right now and you beat them, like that's pretty solid. But yeah, whenever they're playing the Thunder, I yeah, the defense is smothering. Yeah, they were. I think at one point in the third quarter they were leading like 113-84.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. I think
So
there was one point it was like a yeah, 42 point lead.
right.
So they
So
almost
they
doubled their points.
Yeah. And they continue to raise their net rating in every way possible. But it's at this point it's literally, yeah, it's just a disservice to the audience. But I think Shea is continuing to make an MVP case. He's going out there on 28 minutes right now. I think it's like 7 or 8 minutes less than his normal run, and he's still getting you 30. So it's awesome. It's
Hmm.
awesome. Really good for you, man. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for myself too. I think both of our teams have had,
Bro,
in my
yeah.
opinion, this has probably been the best Lakers season in a long time.
Hmm.
Probably since 2020. Obviously, winning that championship. So obviously that bubble season was crazy. But yeah, for you to see how well the Thunder have been playing from day one, and then to see how the Lakers have picked it up. Obviously, Dagnall and JJ Redick right by each other in the Coach of the Year ways kind of goes to show you what they've both contributed to their respective teams.
Hmm.
It's awesome.
I have a question for you, just kind of sidebar. Kind of was thinking about it, right? Obviously, Luca LeBron and or Luca, yeah, Luca LeBron, right? How well they've been playing, and kind of just seeing how Bron is able to kind of take his role now and succeed at it, and helping, knowing that Luca is probably going to be the main ball handler, but he's still able to contribute what he does. I wanted to see like where would you rank him in like duos wise? Obviously, it's very early, very it just happened. Not even
Ever?
yeah, like his
Yeah,
out of his duos, like how would you rank the duos that LeBron has had?
yeah. It's number one. Um, I don't think I think what he did with Dwayne Wade in terms of longevity and his like historical figure, yeah, okay, sure. Obviously Kyrie Irving too as well. Sure, but the skill level, it's Luka Doncic. I think Luka Doncic, no slights to Kyrie or Dwayne Wade, both top 75 players of all time. I think Luka would be higher on the list. I think when he's done just the 30 points out of the gate, a career average at 28 a game, it's with Iverson, Chamberlain, Jordan. It's like with guys like that. So Doncic is, he's looking very much so like the best player that LeBron's ever played with, and that's awesome for him. I think he even talked about it on the show with Nash. It's just it extends his career even more because he can be off the ball and be a computer away from that and let Luca have the ball because Luca is supposed to have the ball. Luca's kind of it's crazy, on a chessboard, the queen is the most powerful piece. So I'm saying the queen. He's the king, but he's going to control the chessboard.
Hmm.
He's the queen of the chessboard.
Hmm.
He can move wherever he needs to go and to do whatever he wants. And LeBron is fine with doing that. And I think it puts him at the number one spot for sure, firmly. Like not even trying to be biased, just skill level and what Luca can contribute to your team. Yeah, we've never seen it before, bro.
Yeah, no,
Like,
not at all. Like I said, I had no doubts about it. I don't know why people did.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really make sense to me. It's just because, especially like the where LeBron is at in his career. Like, of course, he can be a main ball handler, but he doesn't need to be, especially with Luca
Well, I
there.
think your point too. I think what's so shocking is I think Nico doubted it. I think that's why he did it, which is weird too because a lot of teams wouldn't have made that trade, especially giving Luca to LeBron James, somebody that you don't really want to give a player like that. Like you don't want to just give LeBron James somebody like that's like giving LeBron James Shea. It's
Right,
like that's a whole other person now that obviously Anthony Davis is special, but it's a guard. So it's
right.
a different type of thing you're going to be dealing with, and you're going to have to deal with that. Yeah, like you're saying, I don't know people in the media. I think Nico was obviously a bit questionable with the decision, but yeah, it's looking to be, yeah, what you thought it would be and what
Right.
I thought it would be.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to see what your thoughts are. I kind of figured. I mean, because that's probably the number one duo in my eyes as well. Obviously,
Yeah, for
very
sure.
early, but I can already see the potential and what could obviously happen with those two being on the same team. So yeah, I
Yeah,
just thought I'd ask because obviously the other duos, even AD, they all won chips together,
yeah,
and
for sure.
history and nostalgia and stuff. So just kind of wanted to see your thoughts on that for sure.
For sure, bro. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, Anthony Davis too, right? NBA championship with LeBron James, I think says a lot. But like you brought up on the podcast that, with Steve Nash on Mind the Game, he makes every single team he goes to better, right? And I think Luca has some similarities in that. And obviously being traded to a new team instead of the Mavericks, you guys can now finally see how that is. I'm sure if Luca went to any other team in the NBA, he's gonna do the similar stuff.
Right. Yeah. 100%, bro.
Exciting stuff, exciting stuff. But man, we have a banger to talk about. Obviously, these games last night were crazy. Were you able to catch any of them, good sir?
I wasn't able to, honestly. I saw like
Okay,
the highlights and I saw the Jokic performance
okay.
and Steph's performance, so I wasn't able to actually sit down and watch it. So if you could give me a little refresher, sir, I
Oh
would
yeah, that's
greatly
fine.
appreciate it.
Man, I'm gonna start with the 60 piece. Let's just get that out the way. I think at this point, me and you, we've talked about Jokic at length on this podcast. So if you guys are longtime listeners, we appreciate you. But you heard his name brought up a lot. Um, I don't know if you saw the comments that Ant made, but he said it was the best game he'd probably ever been a part of. Double overtime thriller. Timberwolves 140, Nuggets 139. What Nikola Jokic can do on a basketball court is absolutely extraordinary. He had 61 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, so a 60-point triple double. It's only been done two other times in NBA history. You know who those other players are?
Oh, no, I don't. Was James Harden one of them?
Yes, sir. Do you know
Okay.
the other player?
Is it Luca?
It is Luka Doncic.
Wow, look at
So yeah, no, good job, good
thank
job.
you, thank you.
I had that question cooking in my head. I'm glad you're letting me rip with that. But yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly right. And now Nikola Jokic. So just what he's able to do as a hyper computerized version of himself, he continues to defy what defenses are able to do against him. I think the Timberwolves at one point were even doubling him full court at the end of the second quarter because he might hit a full court shot,
Yeah.
right? So they're just the way that you have to play him is it's second to none, honestly. I think the only other player that's comparable is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and it's cool to see those guys go back and forth throughout this season.
Mm-hmm.
Ant exploded, right? 34 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. He's right there as well. I think he had, to me, you've talked about him at length on this pod too, but his ability to just pull it from three now is awesome. I never thought he would be the 3-point shooter that he's turned into be.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been competing at a high level for the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 months, honestly, at this point. Nikhil Alexander-Walker. Wow. Yeah, overtime, probably the overtime hero in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not only was able to draw the foul on Russell Westbrook that led to the 3 point, the three shots at the free throw line. Dude, his defense is just it's insane. It's
Mm-hmm.
insane. It's literally the reason why the Timberwolves were able to pull out this game because he was getting stuck on Jokic, he was getting stuck on Jamal, he's getting stuck on everybody, and he just continues to be uh, a pest and just somebody who, in my opinion, he's a sneaky, all defensive team candidate for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about him, but he definitely could be for sure. But bro, I don't know if you saw the main part of the game. It's unfortunate because it happened to your guy Russ. You see what he did?
No, I didn't. What did he do?
Man, bro, so he had a chance to win the game with about 17 and a half seconds left in the fourth quarter. He went up with a layup, man, and he blew
Smoked.
it. It was
Yeah.
wide,
Okay.
smoked it. Smoked it. And then not only did he do that, he was the person who fouled Nikhil Alexander-Walker to send him with a free throw line with zero point 0.1 seconds left in overtime. So I wouldn't say he's the reason they lost the game. Obviously, there was some nuanced things in between there, but I was going to ask you this question. Why does it seem like Jokic always loses whenever he has these
Like
50,
ridiculous.
60 point?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I feel like it's one of those things where obviously, I brought him up in my favorite scorers in this league right now, and it's something that we know he can do. I feel like it's when he has to. I think it kind of just says something about how the team is doing that night, because if he is needing to score this much and that they still lost, obviously it was 1 point, but they still lost the game. I think it kind of just says more about the performance of the team. I feel like when he's dropping these 40, 50, 60 bombs, it's like cuz he's needing to, right? And I feel like it's not that he doesn't want to. It's like, oh, I kind of like what you were saying, like when Jamal Murray kind of called him out, like, hey, like we need you to drop 40 points a game,
50,
50,
yeah,
whatever
bro.
it may be. It's like, the team isn't just performing. I feel like that kind of is more about the performance of the team, and like he's
It's
one
a
of
great
those
point.
players that he would rather probably pass, but he's like, man, I
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have to drop 60, and like this is a close game, so we're having to get all these buckets, and I can get mine, so like I'll just do it opposed to just kicking it out and missing shots or whatever it may be.
You saw the pass he had. He would, like you said. Did you see where he like
Yeah.
flicked? Like he has probably the assist of the year, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you're saying, he's a pass first center
Mm-hmm.
who's scoring 60 points. Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I did not think about that. He's kind of a player that does what the game calls for,
Mm-hmm.
and that's to your point. The Timberwolves bench outscored the Nuggets bench 40-14. So when Jokic is on the court, especially playing with the bench guys, unfortunately there just wasn't enough scoring, and so that's got to be filled by somebody. And Jokic took over those duties. But a historic night. If you guys are interested in game score, definitely top 25 performance of all time. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go. In a regular season, which is pretty cool. It doesn't happen very often, but recently it's been happening more, bro. Like, what do you think about like these 70-point games and stuff like that? You think we'll see more of that next year?
Yeah, I think so, bro. Especially with like, we had a lot of injuries this season. I feel like people going into the next season are probably someone's gonna drop 70 next year. Did we didn't get a 70 bomb this year, right?
No,
We got a lot
no.
of, or we got a couple 60s, like you said. I think
16.
Shea dropped it twice, and then Jokic
Yeah,
dropped the 60 this
had
past
it.
game, and then Curry's been on the brink of it. But
Already in
yeah,
the thing.
yeah, there's I feel like we're man. Go, this fucking Wilt 100-point game, bro. Every time I see highlights of 4K footage of the fucking 1963 Western
I don't
Conference, I'm
believe
like,
it.
bro, like, why is this 100-point game? Why have we not seen it? But
Yeah, where is that?
where
Like, and
is
I'll
it?
be seeing that. Yeah, like Damian Lillard had 70 and he was on fire.
Fire.
So
Like
like,
he
yeah, like, show me the Carfax, bro.
right,
Like,
yeah.
I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of guys. I think even Luca went
Luca.
against the Hawks, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Just though, yeah. I think he had what 73. I think it
73.
was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was going for 80. Just the disrespect is just crazy. But that's besides the point, man. Let's move on to Curry. 52 points, 12 threes. I have this question for you. Is he a better shooter than he used to be? And I'm talking unanimous MVP Stephen Curry.
It's looking like it, bro. Cause that man shot
Um,
23s last night. I think he hit 12. It's like he's so
12
he's
triples, bro.
it's ridiculous, bro. I feel like
And
he's
he had 10 rebounds, 8 assists.
yeah.
He's flirting with the triple. And it's what so I think a couple of things. Grizzlies obviously are dealing with their interim head coach. Shout out him, by the way. I forget his name, like Tao. How do you say his name? Let's not
Uh,
get. I don't want to disrespect him, but you'll pull it up for
yeah,
me.
I got
Point
you.
was,
I'll pull it.
so the Grizzlies have been going through some things, and I think Steph hit him where it hurt last night. I think it was cool because again, he's somebody that when he comes into the game and he gets hot super quick. So you guys seen Steph Curry in the Olympics. You guys have seen him do it all. You know, against your Thunder a couple years back, obviously had the Mike Breen double bang. You've seen it whenever he gets in that zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what a way to pass Jerry West on the 25th all-time leading scorer list too, man. I mean, at this point, him giving you 50 points has happened a few times on a year. I'm not surprised by it. I think the Grizzlies were a little bit shocked. They tried to double him too in the second half, and it still was not panning off because Jimmy Butler had 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was going to ask you, do you think Jimmy Butler's definitely helped Steph in terms of his ability to now have the floor more open to be able to score more? Because I think that's what he was struggling with earlier in the season, right?
Yeah, I think he's just honestly a great second option, but he sometimes can be that first option for them now, and I feel like that's something they were missing. You know, obviously Kuminga was doing decent, and you know Draymond really isn't a scorer like that, but the fact that they have a player like that now, and they're able to kind of space out the floor more for Curry, it just helps him out. I think, you know, we talked about that whenever the trade first happened, kind of, you know, initial thoughts like, well, how do you think they're gonna do? And I think
Yeah, yeah.
think I've kind of like explained it like in a pretty well with like he's able to get like the easy baskets for them, cut to the rim, get the mid range going, and then obviously when he gets going, you also are gonna have to guard Curry the whole time too. So it's just gonna makes it a lot easier for both of them. You know, I feel like it was a perfect trade, and you know, I think we were talking about it prior to us recording. Like they're looking really good, bro. Like they have a shot of making it far, especially if they get the right matchups. And you know, I don't think there's anyone in this world really that can guard Curry. And honestly, whenever Jimmy's going, especially come playoff time, there might not be a lot of players that could stop him either. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
the pairing was perfect for them. You know, it was kind of what the
yeah.
Warriors were missing.
I was gonna say I'll bring up a few things that well, Draymond Green had a triple double too, so shout out Draymond Green. You brought up, yeah, I think at times his scoring is an issue, but when he gives you 15 points, he's gonna give you those 10 rebounds and 10 assists.
Hmm.
So you're gonna get a triple double out of DG, which is pretty cool. I think the Warriors have they can't guard point guards, which is a massive issue, especially in the NBA right now. If you can't guard a Luka Doncic, a John Morant, that's my only concern is
Hmm.
they still don't have anybody that you can stick on the main guy who's handling the ball, and it's not Curry, and I don't think it's Jimmy Butler anymore either. He's more of a team defender. He's not really a lockdown guy anymore like he used to be a few years ago, which makes sense because he's getting older. But yeah, I mean, I think my only concern is defensively right now. I think on offense they're humming. This win has elevated them fifth in the Western Conference. Clearly they're here to compete. Draymond Green made some remarks during the All-Star break, said that they could go to the finals and win. I don't know about that. We'll see. Obviously, though, the Grizzlies have been kind of sliding recently with this Taylor Jenkins thing, but it was cool to see Ja get his. Obviously, you know, they're also a playoff team, so I'd say this is another quality win for the Warriors. And we'll kind of see how hot they get down the stretch and see what like you're saying, the matchup that they get in the playoffs. Ultimately, that's what's going to decide their success. I think when it comes down to crunch time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the Grizzlies. It says more a little bit more about where the Grizzlies are right now. Like I said earlier, and when I first started speaking, I just think Curry knew that they're kind of he's somebody that likes to step on people's throats, man. So he smells blood in the water. He's a shark. He's gonna attack, and I think that's why you got this outburst that you had.
Hmm. And the interim head coach, his name is Tumas Isalo.
Kumasi Salo, yes sir. Yeah, he Curry hit this triple and he was looking right at Tumas. You know,
I,
it was right in his grill. You know, so I was like, sheesh, man. Yeah, just
what?
a ton of juice from Curry recently, especially post All Star break. He's averaging 30
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
post All Star break. So.
They're looking good, man. Especially when Curry is playing like this. There's not much teams that you know. There's nothing you could really do about that, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Warriors look like that, and the Grizzlies look like that right now,
Hmm.
basically.
Do you
Um,
do you think Jaws still gonna be there, or do you think they're gonna try to move him?
no, I think he'll be there. Like I don't know. I wouldn't even say like their team has massive problems. I don't really know why they fired TJ. Like you said, we still don't know all the details to that. But I think they're just one piece away, bro. They
Mm-hmm.
need another All Star. They don't have an all like besides Jaren Jackson Jr. Again, he was an All Star this year. They need another guard who could be that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that would take them over the hump. Not to say Desmond Bane isn't that, but again, in the playoffs, I don't think he is,
Mm-hmm.
which is no slight to him, but he just doesn't play in that manner.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
fair enough.
Perfectly
Hey,
said.
bro, yeah, we're rolling right along. You think, did you see the news that Sean Serrania broke today?
Mm-hmm.
You did see it.
That boy
Okay, so
Melo, man.
yeah, there you go, man. So how are you feeling about that? Obviously, I'm about to get into it, but how you feeling about Melo going to Hall of Fame?
I think it's well deserved. I think he's one of the greatest scorers that I've ever seen, and just being able to say that, there's so many great scorers in this league, and he's a part of that elite company. I think, a lot of people kind of towards the end of his career, just the way he went out, just what people weren't liking it, but I mean, he's one of my favorite players. Like get drafted in that O2 class with Braun and D Wade and Bosch, all that, and seeing him in Denver with the cornrows and the headband, bro.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
Melos growing up. Like, yeah, he's one of my favorite players, bro. Just kind of how he was able to elevate his game. He went from being like a mid-range slasher to like a three-point shooter when he went to New York, and I think we talked about it. He kind of brought life to New York because they weren't in a good place, honestly, up till he got there. And obviously didn't win a chip, but they were competing for playoffs, and Melo winning that scoring title. He's one of the greatest scorers I've seen, bro. Had one of the prettiest jump shots, that mid range triple threat position.
Melo
Just,
Anthony,
yeah,
man.
Melo, bro. The real Melo, bro. That's the only Melo
Facts,
I know.
bro. Hey, it's tough to hear you talk about him in that way, man, because yeah, he was a special dude. Yeah, braided up, would dunk on you from Syracuse as well, led them to a national championship, I think as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And then three-time Olympic gold medalist as well. 10-time NBA All-Star. He played 19 or 20 seasons in the NBA. I think his career averages ended up being, 23, 6, and like 4, which is pretty solid for a player of his caliber. And he ranks 12th on the NBA's all-time scoring list. So, like CJ's saying, he's continued to get buckets at the highest level possible. It's extremely, extremely important that the game remembers Carmelo Anthony. And yeah, man, I think I just remember, in my opinion, I think about the Mike Breen in the Garden, and I think about them Nuggets series versus the Spurs. Like we've talked about it before on this pod, but just going at them every single time and trying to get it with Iverson, it was very very memorable. And yeah, he honestly, bro, like Carmelo's definitely. I would say if you ask a lot of old heads, but people who are like older 20s, like they're gonna say Melo was definitely one of their favorite players for sure. Because he I had a Melo jersey, bro. I
Mm-hmm.
like the 15 Nuggets, like little replica, blue jersey. It was super cool. But
Mm-hmm.
he's been, I remember when he got older, like you're saying, and he switched up his game. Even the way he played on the Trailblazers, man, like he was
Mm-hmm.
he was hitting them tray balls and them corner threes, and so. Yeah, he comes in, he's instant offense. I'm excited to see though what Keon can do, bro. I'm excited to see what his son can do, and it's just a basketball family, basketball legacy all around. So we appreciate you, Melo. Obviously, you're going to the Hall of Fame where you belong, and you'll have a little headstone. So that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
So shout out to you, man. But hey, bro, this is the main piece of the pie for today. Obviously, this MVP heat up has been crazy. Obviously, with Jokic and Shea. Jokic having that 60, 61, 10 and 10 performance last night kind of shakes things up a little bit. Um, I was gonna ask you, man, in your recent memory, can you remember a time where the MVP race was this close and this difficult to decide based on, the players' archetypes, how they're doing in the season, and where their teams are?
Off the top of my head, I kind of was thinking of the year that Russ won and Harden was going crazy. I think he was averaging like, was it like 35 in like 9 or something like that? and then like obviously Russ averaged a triple double, and it kind of is. It's crazy to think, right? Russ more than likely he got it because of the triple double, but it was also because he was able to drag that Thunder team to the playoffs, and I feel like that's not where we're at right now in this MVP race, because obviously Jokic is top 3 seed in the West and averaging a 30-point triple double, but that was the first one that came to mind because obviously they played on the same team together. Then Harden goes to the Rockets and he starts balling out, and then KD leaves the Thunder. So I think a lot of stuff when it comes to the MVP is like narrative, and I feel like it was just a perfect storm for the Thunder or for the Westbrook to end up winning that MVP. But that I remember that MVP was a lot closer than probably what people think, just because of like it was the first year that a player had ever averaged a triple double. So that was the first one that
Good
came to my
memory.
mind.
Good memory. That's a little bit of a spoiler alert, but yeah, you got it up here, so that's dope, man. Yeah, man, that one was close. I think it was really cool to see Russell Westbrook in the season that he had. Hadn't been done since Big O. Clearly, you gotta reward that. I think he deserved to win. Harden got his eventually.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I wanted to start off, man. I got a little, we got five candidates, obviously, kind of MVP battles that we're gonna talk about, and we'll finish it up with obviously the ones that's happening right now. But I have a dark horse candidate to start it off, man. We're gonna give you guys five, all right? But dark horse, so really six. Do you remember the 2010-2011 MVP battle versus Derrick Rose and LeBron James?
Hmm. I sure do.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right. Sure. So, hey, for people who may not remember, CJ has a pretty good memory, cares about basketball a lot. Um, Hey, Derrick Rose led the Bulls to the best NBA record that season. I think the
Hmm.
Bulls were 62-20 on the year in 2010, obviously playing extremely well at an extremely high level. I think he was averaging like 26 points and like 8 assists at the time too, which is
Hmm.
pretty crazy. LeBron did have better stats though. I think LeBron was averaging like 27, 7, and 7 pretty much. But obviously with the narrative of Derrick Rose being the hometown hero, carrying his team to obviously the best record in the NBA. The NBA is going to go with that storyline more oftentimes than not, and clearly he ended up winning. But obviously this was the only MVP that Derrick Rose was able to win. Obviously with his injury, it's kind of sad what happened to him after that. But this one does stick out to me because I remember, bro, I remember how dominant LeBron was this year. And I think when I was a kid, I remember watching Derrick Rose, and I remember they had this one game where they played each other, and I think it was kind of like the battle of the MVPs, and that game really sticks out in my head because I think. Um, there was a game where it came down to the wire and Derrick Rose ended up hitting this like really clutch bucket. And that was kind of, and I don't know if you remember, but he had this one dunk on Joel Anthony, and it
Hmm.
was nasty, bro. But
Hmm.
yeah, I remember some of those in my memory for sure, and it's pretty cool to kind of go back and reflect on the 2010-2011 season. Obviously, there was a lot of different, the NBA was a lot different back then, so it's pretty cool, to see how many of these. And you'll hear LeBron James is in a fair amount of these.
Hmm.
Clearly, he's going to compete for the MVP pretty much every season. Even this year, I think he's top five. So obviously, Derrick Rose was able to win this one, but how are you feeling about Derrick Rose being the MVP of Chicago?
Yeah, man. I think it was like you said. It kind of goes into like the whole narrative, like I was saying. Youngest player. He, like you said, hometown hero, being able to step up, and that team really wasn't much different besides adding D Rose, and then obviously him turning into the player that he was. And I think it was just kind of the type of player he was, kind of revolutionized the game. That was like before guards were dunking on centers, point guards, and that's kind of when like Russ started to turn into who he was. That's when like John Wall was coming into the league, like these athletic guards that are pretty much dunking on everyone, and we had never seen anything like that before. And the
Yeah.
fact that they did have the best record in the East at that time, and Braun was, I think that was his first year in Miami, so it was kind of like who's gonna be like the next one up, and I think that was a perfect storm. I mean, I'll never take that away from him. I don't care what anyone says. Obviously, like you said, Braun had better stats, but just kind of like the storyline of that season, it just had never been done before, and I don't even know if there'll ever be a younger MVP than that, because just the type of players we've had, and a lot of players aren't able to develop that fast into that type of player. So I think it's one of my favorite. Honestly, it's probably my favorite MVP that I've ever seen. Obviously, besides Russ, that's kind of just like a little homer pick, but being able to see that was crazy. Especially, I was like 13 years old watching him, and everyone. I was trying to play like Derrick Rose. Obviously, I couldn't dunk, but I was trying to do like the cradle layups and like the
Yeah, and
yeah,
like throw it down on the alley-oop.
yeah, yeah, bro. It
Yeah,
was just
bro.
a crazy time, man. I there were some times even like a couple years after that, I would just constantly just look back at those highlights, and it just brought back like a lot of joy for me, because just I had never
Oh,
seen anything like that before, so that's definitely probably
that's
one of my
awesome.
favorite MVP seasons, and
Okay.
I think he deserves that, bro.
Yeah,
It's definitely up there for me, man.
I like that. I like that. I think, yeah, Derrick Rose, man, the rose that grew from the concrete out of Chicago. It's that simple. Moving on to the real list, though. So that was a dark horse candidate. So we got some good ones coming up now. Moving on to number five, James Harden versus Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2018-2019. You remember who won this MVP, sir?
Yes, sir. Well, that was Giannis's first, right?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, why it was great to me and obviously to the other NBA viewers and fans. Hey, bro, James Harden was averaging damn near 37 points a game in
Mm-hmm.
this season, I want to say, carrying the Rockets left and right. Obviously, he was kind of coming into his own as a ball dominant superstar, and Giannis was over there doing his thing. I think he led the Bucks to the best record in the NBA, and he dominated on both ends of the floor. This is the question that I have for you. You think he won because of his defensive play, right?
Yeah, 100%. I just don't think we've
Right.
seen like a player
Yep.
to that capability contribute on both sides of the floor like that.
So I want to say, do you know the other award that Giannis won that year?
Defensive player of the year.
Yeah, do you know the other Defensive Player of the Year and MVPs in the NBA?
Oh, I know
That's what I was
Jordan.
gonna
I
ask.
know Jordan did.
Okay,
Hakeem.
okay.
Um,
I think there's only two more,
two more,
including in Giannis.
including
I think.
Giannis.
I think it's like five guys, bro, and you have two of them, and you have Giannis.
Giannis.
We're in the
Oh.
done. I think. mm,
um.
can look it up.
I would say, yeah, I'm not too sure. Those are the ones off the top of my head without having to like.
Yeah, I think Shaq did it.
Did Shaq do it?
I think he did it.
Okay. Ah, fuck. Yeah, I couldn't tell you off the top. I can look it up though. I'll look
Yeah,
it up.
look it up. I don't know if Shaq did it. Maybe he didn't.
Who?
But that's a good question. Point is Giannis Antetokounmpo won because of his defensive prowess.
Mm-hmm.
Winning Defensive Player of the Year and MVP in the same year hasn't been done since this that time period. And it probably, I don't.
I have him.
Yeah,
So it was Jordan, Hakeem, David Robinson, Giannis, and KG.
KG. That's the other.
KG.
That's the okay. 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 Yeah, David Robinson. I knew. Kevin Garnett. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But only five people.
Only five
Like I said,
people.
so it's not something that will ever happen. I don't know if it'll happen again in our young adult lives,
Mm-hmm.
basically to the point. So clearly he was having one of the best seasons of all time, winning those two awards. James Harden was on fire though. I
Mm-hmm.
think he had a stretch of games where he was averaging like 45, I think, in a month or something like that. Just nobody was able to guard what they were doing. I think this was back when I think this was when D'Antoni was coaching, right?
Yeah.
Like so they were bombing threes,
Mm-hmm.
Eric Gordon, like they were doing everything. So super, super good MVP race. I remember this one just because of the season that Harden was having. I mean, 60-point game after 50-point game after 50-point game. I think I would check my phone every other day and I would see ESPN, and I think his Prize Picks line at this time, because it just started getting popular around 2020. Like I think it was at like 38.5 for one game. I remember checking it and being like, "Damn, bro, like this is
That
crazy."
is crazy, bro.
Yeah, like, but he went for like 40 something. So,
Yeah.
clearly he was just outdoing himself. And I really think this is where he came into his own as being one of the top 75 best players of all time. But Giannis was on his trail the entire time and ended up winning because of his defensive ability. Do you have anything else to add?
No, yeah, I think it's just kind of goes to show that you can be having the season of your life and just someone has a as having a better season. You know, it's kind of crazy. Like, we say like, what more can they do? It's just like nothing. It just happened to be you're playing at the same time this other
Right, right.
generational players in the league. So it just yeah, it's crazy, man. Because like you said, Giannis did have, like you said, there's only been four other prior to him doing that, and I think he deserved it. Is
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
that boy Harden, like you said, was averaging almost 37. And I think his team was probably second or in the West, so it's not like he wasn't winning. So that
Do you
defensive
know the
side,
player? Do you know the player who will threaten that? Like, probably.
MVP defense player of the year, Wemby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
I
That's
was
the
gonna say
only
that.
player in the NBA today.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that was the player that you were saying we might not see. I was like,
And the question mark is what?
um, the wins.
MVP.
Oh, MVP,
I don't
MVP.
know. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough with Luca and Shea and
Right.
Yo. It's really hard to
Yeah.
win that.
Yeah.
But he'll win the DPOY. But
Yeah.
what you like you're saying, what he was able to do that year, bro. I think he was averaging 30 that
Mm.
year or 29 points. But the blocks and the steals again is just it just hasn't been done. And then yeah, I think that for me was a super memorable year because I mean, we've seen it, bro, but what he did in the finals against the Suns, it like was from that year. I
Mhm.
think that's
Mhm.
kind of what got him there. So,
Yep.
shout out Giannis, bro, but definitely deserved to win, like CJ was saying. Um, but hey, going into the next one on the list, obviously this one is very near and dear to me. The 2007, 2008. Obviously, do you know who won the MVP that this season?
I do. R.I.P. Mamba, man.
The late great Kobe Bryant. And do you
Mhm.
know who was making it tough for him to win?
Yeah, bros. That boy CP3.
Yes, sir. So that's yeah, for people who don't know, CP3 used to be
Like that.
CP3. Yeah, he was like that. For the younger kids in the generation, you guys may not remember, but when he was on the Hornets, boy, boy,
Mhm.
boy, boy. They were, honestly, the Lakers were supposed to get him too, but the NBA vetoed the trade because they didn't want to have two MVPs or MVP caliber players on the same team. But it
Mm-mm.
is what it is. Kobe finally got his MVP trophy here. Obviously winning these finals with Shaq, it's crazy. He is a legendary winner at this point. Obviously, everybody knows Kobe Bryant, but the only thing that was really eluding him was this MVP trophy, and he finally got it in 2007, 2008. Um, honestly, I feel like he was going for it. He was going for it in this year, and you could tell he was scoring a lot. And he was just making it very tough on opponents to be able to cover and guard, killing people from the mid range, and just being the main reason why we were able to get that one seed. I think it was a big year for us in terms of what we were doing on the basketball court, and he was able to be the catalyst to that. Now, Chris Paul, I think CP3 was averaging like 22, 11, and like three steals a game at this time. And mind you, I think Dyson Daniels is now doing it, but people, people don't average three steals very
Mm-mm.
often. That's really tough to do. He led the Hornets to 56 wins, which I think still to this day is a franchise record, if I'm not mistaken. Or yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, definitely in that era, CP3 was leading the charge. For sure, when we talk about obviously the Charlotte, it's funny. Pelicans, Charlotte Hornets, right? All of these different names. But whenever you think about the Hornets, you think about those yellow buzz jerseys, right? Hornets, CP3. Even who was the center that was it Emeka Okafor? I think it was
Yeah,
Okafor.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, bro, for sure.
They
So they
wasn't it
had
like
some.
David West and like
Yeah,
some.
David West, like they were kind of solid.
Yeah, they had a solid team.
Yeah, they had a pretty solid team. But obviously, Kobe Bryant just being, the late great Kobe Bean, just super memorable for me because I was a little kid, and I remember watching him and just being like taken aback by his ability. Like I don't think he was honestly for the younger kids, he just really reminded us of Michael Jordan, honestly. And
Hmm.
so I would see him dunk on people, and this was back when Kobe was healthy, so he could still get up. I remember the All-Star game that year was super memorable. So definitely one of the better seasons in recent memory, man. And obviously for the kids who may not remember how good CP3 was, he was pretty good,
He's
bro.
pretty
He was
good. Yeah,
pretty freaking good.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a reason we give respect to the legends, and he's honestly, I think he's top five in assists all time. He's gonna be a top 75 player when it's all said and done as well, even if he doesn't win an NBA championship. So it just goes to show you both of those guys' longevity. So RIP Mama, and then shout out CP3 for sure. Would you like to add anything else?
I would just like to say that the Kobe jersey I have is from that MVP season, so just kind of memorable for me. Just had to have a good like memorabilia of that season for me because that's like you said that was his only MVP and we know how great of a player he was, but he was able to get that one and I just had to cop that, bro. I had to get that
Yeah,
24. It's a yellow one too. I had to, bro. And think
yeah,
I got it on my
Lakers.
24th birthday, so it's like even
Yeah,
more memorable.
Lakers.
Yeah, bro.
Lakers.
Yes,
I
sir.
love that. Hey man, but going into the next one we got on our list, this is third. The 2012-2013 season, the MVP battle between LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Sir, would you like to speak about this one? Maybe you have it's close to your heart a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, Braun is going to be on this list a couple times, and he could have as many MVPs as they would let him, but I think it was
Oh, for sure.
kind of like I was saying, bro, kind of going back into it, the narrative of the season. That was a season that Russ got injured, and KD had to kind of like he was already the probably one of the greatest scorers at that point in the league, and the fact that he was able to do it without his right hand man there with him, it just kind of goes to show the type of player that he was, and I think he was averaging what like 30 that year, 31, I think
Yep,
it was
yep,
31. Yeah, yeah, and we were competing for a champion. We made it to the finals that year against
yeah. I think it
against
was a career high
yeah,
too.
yeah, it's crazy, bro. Because like you said, it's one of those kind of seasons for me where I was a young kid. Just I remember getting, when they have like the merch and stuff. It was I had a it was like a cartoon version of KD with the MVP trophy, and like I was so gassed, bro, because at that time that was first time a player on my team had won an MVP. So it was just near and dear to me, bro. Like I said, I don't, regardless of what happened, KD leaving and stuff, he's one of my favorite players ever, and that'll never change. But yeah, that season just kind of showed me that he can be that guy. Obviously, not winning a chip and stuff is whatever, but just that what he was able to do that season without Russ, it just he was different, bro. Like no one could really stop
Oh
him,
man,
and he kind of showed his ability to like create for others as well. It was just kind of probably one of the best offensive seasons we've seen from a player of that type of like a archetype. Like we had never
yeah.
really seen a 7-footer being able to dunk on you, fucking do finesse moves around the
Kelly,
rim, hit
yeah, for
threes,
sure,
hit game winners, hit the mid
for
range. It
sure.
was just like a complete year for him. And like we were saying, LeBron could have won it too because he put up crazy numbers his whole tenure at the on the Heat. But I think it was one of those like little bit of voter fatigue, but also KD deserved that in my eyes as well, just because of what he was having to overcome that season. So yeah, shout out to KD, bro. Like I said, for first time I had seen anyone on my team win a MVP. So shout out to KD, Slim Reaper.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, definitely a special year for Thunder fans. Obviously, LeBron. I think at this point was averaging like 29 points a game, shooting 57% from the field. So clearly that season is memorable because of the speech that Durant was able to have. And um, I think I don't know. I think I said the year wrong. I had it mixed up.
Was it
I think I
a
said 2012,
was it 11,
2013.
12?
Yeah, I think it was the year before. Because
Mm.
my bad. I think LeBron actually won the next year.
Yeah, the 2012.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, my bad. The
It's all good.
20,
It's all good.
2011, 2012. Yeah, let me fix that. But point is obviously Durant was the winner, being again like I think the NBA like I think you brought up a good point with the voter fatigue, but I think it was also just time. I think the Thunder were at a point in their ascension to where they were competing for an NBA Finals. LeBron was going crazy. I think he was average, like I said, 27, clearly being one of the most important people that we have in the game today, which is still crazy, both of these guys. So it just goes to show you, man, their longevity and the battles that they've had going back to when me and you were kids, bro. So shout out Kevin Durant and LeBron, and obviously LeBron ended up getting another MVP later. But just to see this one, the first one in the Thunder history, is pretty, pretty cool.
Yeah, bro, it was dope, man. Like I said, it was crazy to see because it was like one of those seasons where I'm like, damn, yeah, he needs it, he's gonna get it, and then LeBron's putting up these ridiculous numbers, so it's like, oh, we'll see at the end of the season who ends up getting
Yeah,
it. And he was able to snag that award, so it was great to see, man.
100%. But this next one, man, unfortunately, your boy, honestly, I think this was his first year with the Rockets, if I'm not, or maybe his second year, but it's 2014, 2015,
Hmm.
the battle versus Steph Curry and James Harden. And obviously, Steph Curry ended up winning this one. His unanimous MVP came the year after.
Hmm.
However, I think this was great because this was the start of the Warriors dynasty. Clearly, Steph was able to win this MVP because of the players he had around him. Now he had the entire floor to work with, a lot more space to do damage. And we had, honestly, bro, we had never seen a shooter like Curry before. And I think the league was starstruck that somebody was able to hit 8 to 9 triples in a season per game. And I think his impact on efficiency and winning was at the highest level. And that's really what gave him the edge, man. I think Harden led the Rockets to the second seed in this year, again averaging around 30. So being an offensive engine to what makes the Rockets go. I think at this point in time too, as well, Klay Thompson was really dangerous. So like you
Hmm.
had to kind of account for that. Whereas now, you're accounting for Clay, but it's a little different. Back then, like people were scheming up against Klay Thompson. I think Clay's ascension also helped Curry win this MVP because again, like it just opened up the floor for Steph Curry to really start doing Steph Curry things. And you guys know what happened whenever he won the unanimous one. There's a reason we don't have that on the list because it wasn't competitive.
Right.
He was just doing things that we hadn't seen done before, and obviously, that's kind of where he got his two MVPs. The question I have for you is do you think Steph Curry will ever threaten to win another MVP, or do you think this was the only time he's going to get this?
Dude, it's tough, bro. Cause I mean, you talked about it earlier. Like, Luca is up there. Shea, Jokic, Giannis. There's so many players. It's hard for him to be able to do that. Like he has the ability to, of course, but he would have to have a season of like averaging like 35 or something. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna have to
Yeah.
be at that type of level at this point, just because there's all these great players right now that are exceeding expectations of what they are expected to be. And like it's crazy to think, but like yeah, I don't know if he can anytime soon, but I mean what he was able to do, like you said, revolutionize the game. And just kind of that, like you said, that was a perfect explanation. It was the very beginnings of the Warriors dynasty. I remember they were like the darlings of the West. Like, oh,
Yeah.
can they beat these teams? And it was like now,
And they added KD.
and then they added KD, so it's crazy. But I don't know if he can, but I will never count him out. Let's just say that he'll
For
definitely
sure.
be up there. I don't know
I
it
like
just with
that.
with the type of players that are on this league, with like you said, like I don't know if Luca can even win one, and he's been putting up these crazy numbers for the past 6, 7 years. So
I think Luca will. I think Luca will. Um, he's gonna do it. I think he might do it next year too if he can just be healthy, but we'll see. I don't know because Jokic and Shea do way more.
Hmm.
Um, it's just tough for Luka to win. But yeah, no, Curry totally, bro. Like this was the start of the dynasty. I think um, he was very the darling of the NBA. The Warriors were kind of just starting to become good, and he led them to one of the better seasons in their history. So shout out Curry for sure. And I know James Harden was definitely up there as well. But yeah, this next one, which is our final and last one, um, yeah, I want to hear your thoughts, man, because this MVP race was very memorable. Obviously, this was the spoiler alert. So, when I asked you about kind of what comes to mind when we talk about the Shea versus Jokic battle, it's this one. It's the 2016-2017 MVP battle versus Russell Westbrook, James Harden, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard. What are your thoughts on how that ended up going? Obviously, the season with Russell Westbrook averaging a triple double and James Harden right there averaging 30 points. I think it was 11 assists as well. Also 8 rebounds, damn near triple double.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, knowing it's another Thunder boy was able to win an MVP?
Yeah, bro. I think it, kind of like what I said, I spoiled it a little bit earlier, but I think it was just the fact that he did average a triple double. We had never seen it since, what, the 60s, right? That's when the Big O did it.
Yeah,
So, what,
yeah,
50 years? It was just kind of like you said, the league and I think everyone, the voters, they were kind of like, we gotta give it to him. He brought his team to the playoffs. He averaged a triple double. KD just left. It's like everything was on the plate for him to be able to do it. Obviously, he went out and averaged those numbers, but it was just the fact that he was actually able to win games as well. And obviously, like I said, with the exit of Kevin KD, and it's like we didn't know what to really expect. Can Russ lead his team to wins? Is he just a stat patter? I remember that's what everyone was saying, and it's like, obviously
yeah. I
not.
remember that
That,
too.
yeah, the whole,
Yeah,
like I said, the narrative, bro. I feel like that's really what the MVP race is based off of, and it was perfectly for him to be able to do that.
you remember that game that won him that MVP?
Yeah, it was the game against the Nuggets, bro. When he dropped, was
Yeah,
it at 40? He dropped like
I think
40,
no, yeah,
50. Oh, it was because he hit that three and to
the best
win.
for the win, bro. Yes, bro. And it was that to
That's what
me that
solidified it.
so that was the last day of the year. I know you remember this. To me, that's the best way to win the MVP I've ever seen in my life,
Hmm.
without a doubt. Last day of the year. I think it mattered too because they were a 7 seed or something like that.
Yeah.
It was for the 6 seed,
Hmm.
bro. And they were going to the playoffs anyway, but super dope to see him do that. And on the last day of the year, super cool. Like I remember hearing, I didn't watch that game, but I saw that highlight and I was like, man, if you were watching that, he must have been like, he did it again, man. It's
Yeah.
Russ for sure. Super,
Brody.
super special. Yeah, I think he averaged what? It was like 30. I think it was no. I think what did Westbrook average on that year?
I think
Was
it
it like
was,
30?
yeah, I think it was like 32, 11, and 10 or something.
10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 32, 11, and 10, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Crazy
So,
numbers, especially at a
yeah,
guard. We hadn't seen
at
that for
his
50.
size too, bro.
We
At
hadn't
six
seen it
four, like
hadn't seen it in 50
wow,
years. Like I feel like,
yeah,
hard like you said, Harden damn near averaged a triple double as well, but I think it's just he actually did for the whole season, which the fact
yeah,
that
wow.
Jokic is able to do that now, it blows our minds, but at that time, we didn't even know that was possible. You know what I mean? Like we didn't
Right?
even
No, not
think
at
of
all.
like, oh, averaging a triple double for a whole season. Nah, that could never happen.
Nah, yeah, no way. That's
And the,
I
and
would I would
then
have told you you were crazy, bro, because like the way the game was played 15 years ago, like it was hard to do that. So watching Westbrook really dissect defenses and be honestly, yeah, the best player of that season, super, super special. And I'm very, obviously this was a cool exercise because it just goes into the main point that this, we're trying to make with this season is like the battle between Jokic and Shea is probably right up in the top five here, in my opinion, when it comes to stats, and then just them going back and forth on a night to night basis. You never know what you're gonna get. Obviously, the Thunder aren't playing tonight, so you're not gonna see the response right there. And then he's been playing a little bit less minutes, but definitely after post All-Star break, the MVP race has been heating up. So I'm excited to see what, how it plays out. We're Team Shea over here. You guys have heard that before, and we're not gonna like give our predictions because we've done that before. But we just hope that Shea is able to finish this one out because Yoke he's making it tough, bro, for sure. He's
He's
making it really tough, bro.
really tough, bro. Like we were just talking about 30-point triple double, right? Russ did that. So is Jokic. So it's like
Yeah,
statistically, he deserves it, right? But I think like we were saying, narratives of the season, the youngest team in the league. We have 63 wins now. It's like, realistically, what more can Shea do? And that might be something that kind of, bites us in the ass, because it just happens to be Jokic is right there too,
right.
and he's averaging his statistical best season of his career and probably we've ever really seen from a
Ever
center.
seen
Yeah,
for sure.
so
No, yeah, from like anybody.
right. So it's gonna be
Yeah, just
crazy, man. Like I think we've
crazy.
been talking about it like it's been Jokic and Shea all season, and it's going into the last couple weeks of the NBA season. It's still like that. So I think we
Yeah,
talked about it when we did our our MVP straw poll of like throughout the whole season. It's been them two. There was a times I think where Giannis was kind of in the second place, but it's always been Shea and
and
Jokic.
yeah,
So
for sure, man. You ready to recap our betting segment?
yeah, bro.
Because it's been a long time, man. Because I missed both of mine. So for people who don't remember, I had Luca over seven. This is a week and a half ago now. Luca over 7.5 assists, and then the Suns plus 6.5. Both of those missed. They were at minus 150, minus 110. That brings me to like four and I think 10 on the season right now since we've been tracking it. So I've been missing. Um, I've got to get hot though. So I've got one pick. I'm gonna obviously I'll let you recap it and then I'll get into what I gotta say.
Yeah, yeah. So
You'll
I
get on.
had a little two leg. I had KD over 25 and a half. I think he dropped 30 that night. The Suns
He hit.
Suns
The
got blown out.
Suns
Yeah, they got blown out, but KD got his. I thought that line was pretty low to be going against.
first he got his, bro.
Right.
Like he got 30 and he
Right.
lost by 30.
30.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
And then Tyrese, it was the game that I think he had 18 assists against y'all. I had points assists. It
Goldberg
was
for sure.
27 and a half, and he hit that. So going in hot into this week. So I hope I could keep it rolling. But yeah, if you wanna, what picks do you have for tonight, sir?
Oh man, so I got some good ones for you guys, man. Obviously, I'm gonna start out with I think an interesting guy. I haven't really bet on him much, but I'm interested to see what he can give me tonight. I'm going with Trey Young points and assists.
That's what I
The
took too.
number I have is 36.5, minus 120. Pretty solid. He's been kind of on one for people who don't know. I think he's the first player to reach 1,500 points and 800 assists this season. So definitely filling up the stat sheet, has the most points and assists in the NBA. So that's
Mm-hmm.
always a good pick to take. And then my next one, I'm gonna go with Nuggets money line. I think they might be missing Jokic. It's against the Spurs. But give me that. Give me that. I think even without Jokic in the lineup, yeah, just give me them on a back-to-back at home. I think the Spurs playing in that elevation is going to be tough. So I like the Nuggets on the money line to win tonight. I
Yeah.
also think it matters more for them. I think the Spurs are a tanking team. You
Mm-hmm.
guys should remember that as well. The Nuggets are trying to play to win, whereas the Spurs don't have a ton of reason to be winning at this
Right.
stage in this season.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I
That's
also took Trey Young, 36 and a half points assists. I actually bet on him yesterday and he hit. So kind of rolling into that, I was like,
yeah, yeah, like
it,
the on fire. Yeah.
it's obviously a back to back, but they're going against the Mavs. I think Trey, I've been talking about him a lot this season. He's one of the best point guards in this league. He's killing it with the assists. I think he's leading the league this year with like 12 or something like that, 11,
hmm
whatever maybe. Just kind of
Well,
being what he's seeing what he's been able to do. Offensively hasn't had the best efficient wise, but he's able to spread the ball out and make plays for everyone on that team. And then this one, I've been betting on him a lot this season. He's been cashing for me. I got Zubac, bro, over
pretty much.
28 and a half points, rebounds. He's been killing it, bro.
I'm
I
gonna tail
think
that. I'm gonna tail that.
I
I'm gonna
don't.
tail that.
I honestly, bro, I think he's a top five center in this league right now. Honestly,
I agree.
I think he's
I
one of
agree.
those like
He's
bruisers.
Zubac.
A lot of people, probably don't look at him as one of the best, but he is. He's been playing this whole season really consistent, getting like 12 rebounds or like 10 rebounds a game.
Yeah, like this season for sure.
Yeah, I would
No
say
Embiid, no
no Embiid,
Sabonis right now.
no
I
sub.
don't know if Sabonis is gonna make All NBA.
I don't know if he is either, bro.
I think he's gonna miss the games, which is outrageous. Because when we did it, he was playing, and now he hasn't played since that day. I think,
Yeah.
but
So,
point still is the same. I think Zubac is second in rebounds behind Sabonis,
mhm,
and then Cat's third, and then yeah, the points is really he's just getting 16 to 20 points.
right.
So
Yeah. So rolling with him, he's been one of the people I've been betting on a lot this season, and he's been cashing for me. So
I
hopefully,
would even say that like that game, I think regardless of spread, he goes over because
mhm,
they just don't have a center on the
yep.
Pelicans who can do anything.
Mhm.
They don't have Jonas Valanciunas anymore, so it's just really they're really small
Yeah,
like that.
and he's one of the big men in this league that is like a bruiser. You know what I mean? Like
He
he's
likes
able to
to
get.
get dirty.
So it's gonna be tough for the Pelicans to be able to contain him, but I think that was a good line. I like that one. So yeah, that's my bets for tonight. Hopefully we can cash it for
We can
y'all.
cash out for sure, man, for sure. Well, do you have anything else on the docket you'd like to talk about?
Nah, bro, I think this was a great one, as it always is. Oh, another
Yeah, for
banger.
sure. 100%, 100%. We appreciate the audience for sticking around, man. Obviously, if you guys like, comment, subscribe, that we greatly appreciate it. And, we'll catch you guys next time. It's Three Man Weed. Peace.
Peace. Three
Peace.
man, three man, three man.
Three Man.